My name is Lauren Swigart, and I took the dyslexia course, and I want to share my artifact, which is a consonant sound wall that includes also a vowel valley sound wall. This aids students with dyslexia who might be struggling with phonemic awareness. It helps them to properly attach the sound to the grapheme and to think about that when they see a word that they're trying to decode or when they're thinking about trying to spell a word to make sure that they use the correct letter, the correct grapheme in their spelling. Before I demonstrate how to use that for both of those skills, I want to just first give you an overview of the sound wall and the vowel valley and a few tools that I'll be using today. So the first thing I want to show you is the consonant sound wall. I used from Letters, if some of you are familiar with that. I used a grid that they have for manner of articulation, and they use the headings lip together, teeth on lip, tongue between teeth, tongue behind teeth, tongue on roof, back of throat, and glottis. Now, kindergartners aren't going to be able to read those headings, so I took pictures of my mouth with a cue to show how to start each letter sound for the student. So you'll see that P, B, M, W, they all start with lips together, so they fall under the lips together category. You'll also see that some sounds have a red dot or a green dot if there's more than one sound in a block. That's because the red is when the sound is unvoiced, when that voice box is turned off, and the green is for when it is voiced, when the sound box is turned on. For example, P and B are the same. Your mouth does exactly the same thing, but it's a matter of if your voice box is turned on or off. So your lips start together, and P would be P with no voice box. If you put your hand to your voice box, do the same thing for B. B. Mouth does the same thing, but your voice box is on, and you can feel that. And students can see that, oh, that's why I'm getting those letters confused. One has a voice on, one has a voice off. So those little dots give them a cue. On the left, you'll see that there are labels for stops, nasals, fricatives, affricates, glides, and liquids. Those are more for me, from my teaching standpoint, to know it's all about how the air moves through your mouth. And so I can teach to those, but there are a few images there that I created to help students make a connection if they need to, like, oh, these sounds are all gliding sounds, or these sounds all come out of my nose and nasal. So that's just another tool they could use if they need to. Over here, you'll see the vowel valley. This is also from Letters. A full vowel valley would have a full V, but in kindergarten, they only learn the 5 short vowel sounds. I've also included some mouths with each of the sounds. That's from the Tools for Reading Kidlips. And that comes with these really simple short lessons on each sound. And then it also has the cards of kids' mouths to see how to make the sounds. And then I have a mirror. Kids can use that if they need to. You'll see that it starts with I, because it goes and so it mirrors how your mouth moves. Your mouth is closed together, and then it kind of comes apart, and then it's going to go close together as it goes through the other vowel sounds that are introduced later in 1st and 2nd grades. So that's there for them. Students can use the mirror if they need to see what their mouth is doing and try and match it to the soundboard if they need to. But now I want to show you how we can actually use this in lessons to both write a word and to read a word. Now, at my school, we use Foundations. This is a student notebook. I don't have the teacher notebook, it's packed, or the teacher manual, it's packed away, but this is like the same picture that it has on the teacher's manual. And they give their phonics lessons, and they introduce the letters in a certain order, and students learn the sound and how to write them properly. and that starts in kindergarten. So I'm going to show a kindergarten kind of activity from one of these lessons. So one of the activities would be to write a word. I would give a word, and students would have to write it correctly. Now, when a soundboard or when a sound wall is being built, it has these Velcro attached. So it would start empty. The board would start empty at the beginning of the year, and as you introduce the letters, you're going to put those letters up on the board. So, for example, if I start with the letter B, okay, I would first show students and say, this is the letter B. It says B, as in the word bat. Let's think about this sound. B. What is your mouth doing? How does it start? And students would think that they would think about this. They could look in their own personal mirrors, and they would see that they start the sound B by closing their lips. B. So we would know that it's going to be in the lips together column. And then we would have to think about B. Is my voice box on or off? B. We can feel on our throat that the voice box is on, so that's going to get a green dot. And it's a stop because the sound doesn't continue. We don't say buh, because then we have an sound at the end, which we don't want to confuse students with that. So it's a short sound, buh, and it's going to go on a stop with lips together. And I would put that up there for students as I introduced it. Okay, but right now we're going to look at how to do a complete word. So if I want to spell the word vet, okay, I would tell students, say the sound vet. Let's think about how many sounds are in that word. So first we're going to use some sound boxes. This is for a 95% group if you use that program ever. So we would go how many sounds? We hear 3 sounds. Foundations use tapping. So we could also use that in conjunction with the sound boxes. Now, what I like to do before moving on to the consonant sounds is really hone in on that vowel sound, because that's what students really struggle with, especially in the early stages of learning. So E and I are very easily confused. So I would have students focus on that vowel sound. And we would come over here and go, and we could match it to our mouth by using the mirror and the picture. You could also match it to the keyword, ed. Okay, it's not itch, it's ed. So we would replace that then with the vowel letter E, so that students can hold that in their mind, or the board can hold it for them instead of them trying to have to hold it in their mind, which can also be a struggle for dyslexic students. So now that we have this mapped out, we know it's 3 sounds, we know our vowel sound is E, we're going to think about that first sound. So we think about what our mouth is doing. We might again use a mirror. I feel my teeth on my lip, so I'm going to look up there at the second column, teeth on lip, and I'm going to see that I have 2 sounds to choose from. I have F or V. And when I think about F, ooh, that is red. There's no voice there. But when I think about V, I'm voiced. I feel that vibration. So I'm going to choose the letter V as my first letter. And I'm going to write it here on my foundations lines. And I know how to do that. I start at the plane line, I slide down to the grass line, and then back up to the plane line. I remember that I said that the E sound is in the middle for our vowel, so I'm going to write that next. Again, I would walk students through the foundations lettering of the special E. I would start below the plane line. I would go across, back up to the plane line, down to the grass line, and curve up. And then finally, my last sound is So I think about how is my voice starting? What is my mouth doing when I start that t sound? And if I think about it, my tongue is going to be up on the roof of my mouth right behind my teeth. So when I look in that tongue, I have a lot of options. And I'm is a short sound, it stops. So I'm going to look at my first column and my voice is off, so it's going to be the T, not the D. So then I'm going to write my T over here on the line. And I'm going to check myself, that, and I've spelled the word correctly. Another way to use this is to read a word. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears here. I'm going to erase the word that. And I'm going to write a new word and ask students to read it. So if I write up the letters M, O, P, and I want students to read this word correctly using the sound wall. Okay, so we would first come to this letter, M, and I find it on the sound wall. That's the first step. And I see it's here. Ooh, sound's going to come out of my nose, and my lips start together. So I go, oh, man. Okay, so that's my first sound. Then I look at my next letter. I have an O. That's my vowel sound. So I come to my vowel valley. I find the O, and I see the kid's picture. His mouth is wide open. My keyword from Foundations is octopus. So I know I'm doing the ah, and I can match it to the mirror if I need to. So now I'm at ah. And now my last letter is a P. I find that up here on my sound wall. Okay. My keyword is pan. I know it's a stop sound, and my lips start together. So I'm going to do that, and it's unvoiced. So that's going to be as in pan. So now I have my three sounds. I'm going to tap it. Ma. And so your mouth gets ready for those sounds, says those sounds, and then you have to hold the tap and blend it. That's what Foundations teaches as well. So those are two skills you can use a sound wall for, both writing a word and reading a word.